Each year in the United States, thousands of major crimes go unsolved. When the case has gone cold and police have nowhere to turn, they seek assistance from the public. This is a program dedicated to solving these cases. This is Crime Stoppers Case Files.
Every year, crimes go unsolved here in Southern California. Loved ones are left waiting. I'm Joy Benedict, and as a news reporter, I've covered countless crimes, countless homicides, and I know that sometimes victims of these crimes are forgotten almost as quickly as the headlines fade. So tonight on Crime Stoppers Case Files, we take another look at the crimes still lingering unsolved in our communities. Let's get started. It's October 19th, 2009. A young man is standing in his driveway talking on the phone with his girlfriend. That's when two strangers walked up to him. One of them opens fire, killing 20-year-old Waymon Weston. And here is his story.
He was a very loving son, brother. He was a very humble person. He never got in trouble as he was going to school, never had complaints with the teachers or anything. He was always joking and laughing, and he was a class clown at Gardena High.
Growing up in the house with Wayne, it was very fun. And I used to get mad at him because he didn't used to want to go outside with us. He used to want to stay in the house and watch cartoons. And
he, stayed to himself. He used to like to stay in the house and play the Nintendo games and watch TV and make jokes and just sit around. He didn't like playing with other children, besides his sibling and his sister.
I used to tell him everything because it was just me and him for 15 years before my little brother came along. So me and him was real close. A lot of things that I couldn't tell my mom, I used to tell him. He keep my secrets.
And he was kind of like a quiet child being young, growing up. But the older he got, the more he came out of his shell. And he would just be so happy. When you come in the room, he'll be, "Hi, cousin, I love you." And, shower you with hugs and give you a kiss.
And when he graduated from Gardena High, he started having a lot of friends. And he was very loving.
He was one of my favorite cousins. He always was like the light when you came in the room. He always had a smile. He had the most beautiful eyes that you had ever seen. And the older that he got, the more lighter they got. So when he was younger, they were kind of a little dark and just a little light, but the older he got, the more beautiful his eyes would get.
I have 5 grandkids, and he was like a father to them. And he had nephews and nieces that he used to take care of. And
we were like a tight-knit family. We were like the Nutty Professor family. He loved to eat. Like when food was involved, he was like the happiest kid in the world. It was a delight to see him.
He was unique. He loved to be clean, and he used to draw a lot, and he loved music. He knew all the music. I thought he was gonna be a writer.
And every time I come over, he would be like, "What kind of new music do you have?" And I would give him my CDs, and he would run them and play them on his games. And
he used to work hard. He used to, have several different jobs, and he started out as doing paper. And then he moved on up and went to construction. Then he started for security. He was going for his guard card. And he was just about to go to work when this happened to him. He came in my house in the room and said, "Mama, guess what? I'm finna go to work in the morning." And as he said he was going to work, 20 minutes later, he walked out the door and they shot him. That was my best friend, my son. He was everything to me. And it hurts me so bad. I done prayed for 2 years that they find this person who killed my son.
Waymon was described by the residents of the neighborhood as a very nice young man. In fact, often helping some of the older ladies with the groceries. He had just got a new job, which he was actually going to be a security officer.
911, what is your emergency? Hi, someone just got shot on 90th Street. Did you guys get the call?
No. Did you see anything?
I didn't see anything, and I can hear the shots because I live on 89th.
Okay, how many shots did you hear?
Top 6 shots.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
On October 19th, 2009, at approximately 10 p.m., my partner, Mario Rodriguez, and I were detailed to respond to the 1100 block of West 90th Street in the Lenox area of Los Angeles regarding the death of a male black. Upon our arrival to the scene, we saw the victim laying in the driveway, and there was some ballistic evidence also at the scene. The victim was identified as Waymon Weston, a 20-year-old male who actually lived at the location. So what we learned, talking to witnesses, was Waymon was in the back of the apartment complex with some friends, at which time he went to make a call to what we believe was his girlfriend at the time. So what he did was walked to the front of the location through the driveway, where he proceeded to have a conversation with his girlfriend on the cell phone. During the conversation, his brother, who was the last person to see him alive, looked out the window, asked Waymon if he could come upstairs and help him get some ice cream from the freezer. Waymon told him he'd be up shortly, and the younger brother described gunshots shortly afterwards. While Wayman's in the front of the driveway talking on his cell phone, the two suspects appeared to be coming from an apartment building 2 houses west of where Waymon lived on the south sidewalk. They walked up toward Waymon, who was standing next to a wrought iron fence at the edge of the driveway. And a brief conversation ensues where one of the suspects asked Waymon where he was from, referring to if he was a member of a gang. There's other reports of one of the males telling Waymon he remembered him. At that point, one of the suspects produces a handgun and fires several shots in the direction of Waymon, at which time he immediately falls to the ground. After the shooting occurred, both suspects ran across the street to a waiting car, which was described as a black sedan. They entered it. The car drove backwards, which would be eastbound toward Vermont, on the wrong side of the road and out of view. Waymon was pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. When we got to the scene, Waymon was lying on his side in front of the gate in the driveway, suffering from multiple gunshots to the upper torso.
The day that it happened, me and him had fun all day long. But what was so different, he carried me up the stairs like if me and him was getting married. And he walked me all the way up the steps. And as he got me there, he put me down. He said, "Mama, I'm going to work in the morning." I said, "Well, what you gonna buy me for Christmas, Wayne?" He said, "Mom, knock it off." And he walked out the door, and I heard the gunshots. And his brother came and said, "Mama, that's my brother outside." And I nearly died. I ran outside and lost my mind.
When Waymon got killed, I was incarcerated, and I had been there for about 10 months. I couldn't talk to no one. I couldn't go to his funeral. I never got a chance to say bye. And that's what hurt me the most. It was like the worst news that you can ever receive from anyone, to tell you that someone that you love, that you grew up with, that you was so close to, that they was gone and that you would never see them again.
When we return, what you can do to help the family of Waymon Weston.
I'm Los Angeles County Sheriff Lee Baca. The Los Angeles Sheriff's Department has partnered with the LAPD and other municipal police departments throughout our county to form the Los Angeles Regional Crime Stoppers organization. Crime Stoppers is an important law enforcement tool, a proactive approach to removing dangerous criminals from our streets. Each week on this television program, we will share the facts about unsolved cases, and you will have the opportunity to submit information that may help investigators without ever having to give your name. I encourage you to provide us any information you may have. I thank you for joining us and doing your part to make our community safer.
On October 19th, 2009, at approximately 10 p.m., 20-year-old Waymon Weston was shot in front of his house in the 1100 block of West 90th Street in Los Angeles. So according to witnesses, what happened was Waymon was outside using his cell phone when he was approached by two other male blacks. A short conversation ensued, at which time the victim was shot by one of the suspects, which then the suspects ran to a waiting car, which was described as a black sedan that was parked facing west on 90th Street. The neighborhood is South Los Angeles, commonly referred to as the Vermont area, which is relatively gang infested with several Hispanic and black gangs. Waymon was not a gang member, however, some of his friends were affiliated with gangs.
This is something that tore a family apart. Just snatching someone's life like that was innocent. He wasn't a gangbanger. He wasn't in the streets. He didn't sell drugs. He never hurted nobody. He never robbed, stole, or killed, or did anything to make no one come and hurt him like that.
My son was going to church, and he went to Heavenly Tabernacle right down the street on 90th Street. He was going to church every Sunday, and he was asking all kind of questions about God, and you know, for people to hurt him the way they hurt him, it hurts me real bad. And to sit up every night where you stay at and recalling this moment every time I walk out my driveway.
I just like some justice for my mom. She hurt more than anybody, her and my father.
It done made me get real sick. I have to go to the doctor now where I done cried myself to death days and nights.
My dad don't come out his room. He just go to work, then he just go home and just sit in his room and he just cry and cry and cry.
Whoever did this to my son that's watching, I wish you would turn yourself in, come forward. It would help a lot, but it wouldn't solve the problem. It wouldn't solve the hurt and the pain and the all day long that I go around looking for him and calling his name and crying. Some days I can't even control myself because I be crying so much. Nothing can change the way I feel about you killing my son in front of my house the way you did.
I would love to see justice done. You know, being that I'm a God-fearing woman and that we pray, our whole family is God-fearing, and that it would be the best thing for them to come forward and give justice to my cousin because she's hurting every day. Their spirit would be lifted if they come forward and justice be done.
Our suspects are described as two male blacks in their 20s, thin builds, both wearing dark clothing. If anybody has any information, we'd like to hear from you. I'm Sergeant Robert Gray. My partner is Sergeant Marty Rodriguez. You can call Los Angeles County Sheriff's Homicide Bureau at 323-890-5500. Or you can contact Crime Stoppers and remain anonymous. There is a $10,000 reward offered for information leading to the arrest and conviction of our suspects.
You should turn yourself in. God will bless you if you turn yourself in.
It made me a better person than what I was. I was very a worldly person, and I didn't care about others' feelings and hurts and pains until this happened to me. Once it happened to my family and I see how it hurted my mother, it made me want to love and be kind and generous, and it hurts though.
We don't know much about the suspects involved in this case, but police are looking for two thin black men in their 20s. They left Waymon's house driving in reverse eastbound towards Vermont Street. They were in a black sedan. Waymon Weston was just 20 years old. He just started living his life, and his family needs your help. So if you remember that day on October 19th, 2009, if you've heard anything since, call Crime Stoppers. The number is 1-800-222-TIPS, or check out our website at lacrimestoppers.org. That's where you can learn how to text or even email your tip. Your information could lead to a $10,000 reward. When we come back, more unsolved crimes right here on Crime Stoppers Case Files. Welcome back to Crime Stoppers Case Files. Investigators also need your help tonight identifying a group of men who robbed a CVS on Slauson Avenue in Los Angeles. The surveillance video is shocking as 3 masked men ambushed the drugstore waving handguns. They tied up everyone inside before walking away with thousands of dollars. Here's Detective Clarence Williams.
On October 9th, 2011, at approximately 9:50 to 9:55 p.m., a CVS was robbed at 4501 Slauson Avenue in the city of Los Angeles. The location where the CVS store is a residential neighborhood, generally quiet. It's referred to as the View Park area of Los Angeles. The first suspect walks in, points his handgun to the security guard's head. As soon as he does that, the second suspect walks in. As he walks in, you can see him reaching into his pocket, pulling out a handgun, and begins to point it at the 2 employees and 1 customer that are left in the store. The third suspect then walks in carrying zip ties. As the third suspect enters the store, due to his size, he almost trips as he walks into the store. Once he walks in, the first suspect and the third suspect walk the security guard to the photo area where they begin to zip tie his hands, as well as the employees and the customer's hands. Once they're zip tied, they go to the registers. They take money from the registers, then they go to the back room where the safe is located, take money out of the safe. Then they come back out of the back office and leave the store out the front door, going what appears to be east on Slauson. The total loss in this robbery was over $11,000. The first suspect is a male black, approximately 6 feet, 160 pounds, wearing a dark jacket with white sleeves and dark blue pants. On the jacket, the sleeves have red lettering written on the side, and the hat that he's wearing has the letters NY on the back. He's also wearing a bandana covering his face. The second suspect is a male black wearing all black and a black ski mask with a white hooded sweatshirt underneath his jacket. The third suspect is a male black, approximately 5'9", 300 plus pounds, wearing all black. He steps into the business and has zip ties in his hands. And all 3 of the suspects were 20 to 25 years old. They wore black gloves, and they all referred to each other throughout the incident as Blood. It's unclear at this time whether they're Blood gang members or not. If anyone has any information about this robbery, please contact me, Detective Williams, at Marina Del Rey Sheriff Station at area code 310-482-6028, or you can contact Crime Stoppers, and where you can leave that information anonymously.
These 3 men terrorized this store and walked away with $11,000. If you know them, if you saw anything on that day, October 9th, 2011, please call Crime Stoppers. The number is 1-800-222-TIPS, or check out our website at lacrimestoppers.org, where you can send an anonymous text or an email. Here's another case that needs your attention. Police are trying to identify 2 men believed to be involved in a local burglary. It happened on Sunday, August 7th, 2011 at a Lomita restaurant. So take a look at these surveillance photos. Do you know these men? Police say they broke into the Sushi Delight on the PCH. Investigators say the suspect smashed the front glass door just before 11 at night. Surveillance shows them attempting to pry open the cash register at the restaurant. They were unsuccessful and left. But police believe they did the same thing at Premier Cleaners next door. A cash register and its contents were taken from the cleaners. So again, if you've seen these men, you need to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIMPS or log on to www.lacrimestoppers.org. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode of Crime Stoppers Case Files. Remember, we are here every week with more crimes and more families needing answers. These are your neighbors. This is your community, and you can make a difference.